Unsettling facts you probably didn't know, Part 15. The movie Nightmare on Elm Street is actually based on a true story that was reported by the LA Times. A boy was terrified to go to sleep, and when he finally did, he died while screaming about a nightmare. When you die, the last sense to leave your body is the ability to hear. While Ted Bundy attended the University of Washington with a major in psychology, he also worked at Seattle's Suicide Hotline Crisis Center. Dead bodies can get goosebumps. It's not impossible to die by holding in a sneeze. Some injuries can be very serious, including a ruptured brain aneurysm, rupturing your throat, and even a collapsed lung. During the mummification process, ancient Egyptians removed the brain through one of the nostrils. This video is of a puff-faced water snake that waited so long for prey in the rocky crevices of a swamp that moss started growing on it.
You are not going to be able to travel for much longer, and is travel going to be banned for good for a while? This is mad. This is mad. As I'm sure you know, everything that's happening over in the Middle East is absolutely crazy. It is horrific, of course, no matter which way you want to look at it. Civilians dying left, right and centre, and it is just a tragedy, to be honest. Of course, America stands on the side of Israel, helping them out, supplying them with weapons and whatever. Naturally, the Palestinians and other countries who do support Palestine are not happy with America, of course. So the US have officially put out a travel warning, warning citizens about travelling abroad and telling them to take extra precautions because it's more likely that they're going to be targeted by terrorists. This comes after there has been mass hate towards the US all across the Middle East, with flags being burned, of course lots and lots of protests everywhere, and even a siege of the US embassy in Baghdad. So yeah, a lot going on, pretty crazy. All of these tensions rising, I really do not know what is going to happen. I know that all of this is happening before GTA 6, and yeah, hit that follow button and I'll keep you updated.
Sometimes I hear a story so scary it makes me check every room in my apartment. So years ago, this older woman was living alone in her home in Denver. She had recently broken her hip, and before she went to the hospital, her house felt fine. But when she came back, something felt off. Like, it would sound like her caretaker was in the other room, but when she would go in, no one would be there. There were also way more like bumps in the night, and sometimes those bumps sounded like footsteps. Eventually, this woman starts thinking that her house is haunted. But one night, her caretaker is getting ready to leave for the day, and she hears the noises. And she's like, I have to check this out. I have to get to the bottom of what this is. So she goes to the back stairs where she hears the sound coming from, and there she sees this skeletal man with sunken-in eyes just staring back at her. And she loses it. She runs away screaming. She calls the police, and the police come and search the house, but they can't find anyone until they check the attic, and they see that there's this crawl space, which is about the size of a coffin, that an adult man had been living in. Yeah, and he had been there for 9 months. And crazier yet, the man ends up confessing to a murder. The whole story is super wild. Make sure you check it out on the podcast this week.
The Book of Enoch is an ancient Jewish religious text that was written over a period of centuries, between the 3rd century BCE and the 1st century CE. It is not part of the Hebrew Bible or the Christian New Testament, but it is considered to be canonical by the Ethiopian Orthodox Church and Eritrean Orthodox Tewahedo Church. The Book of Enoch is a complex and diverse work, and its contents can be divided into 5 main sections. The Book of the Watchers. This section tells the story of the fallen angels, known as the Watchers, who came down to earth and mated with human women, giving birth to the giants known as the Nephilim. The Book of the Watchers also describes Enoch's journey to heaven, where he is given visions of the future and learns about the coming judgment of God, the similitudes of Enoch. This section contains a series of visions and prophecies in which Enoch is shown the future of the world and the Messianic kingdom. The Book of Astronomical Passages. This section provides detailed descriptions of the heavens and the heavenly bodies. The Book of Dreams. This section contains a series of dreams that Enoch has about the future. The Epistle of Enoch. This section is a letter from Enoch to his son Methuselah, in which he warns him about the coming judgment and exhorts him to remain faithful to God. The Book of Enoch is a significant work of Jewish and Christian apocalypticism, and it has had a profound influence on subsequent religious thought. It is also a valuable source of information, about Jewish and Christian beliefs and practices in the late Second Temple period. Here is a more detailed description of some of the key themes and concepts in the Book of Enoch. Fallen angels and the Nephilim. The story of the fallen angels and the Nephilim is one of the most famous parts of the Book of Enoch. It is a story about the dangers of sin and the importance of remaining faithful to God, judgment, and messianism. The Book of Enoch also contains many prophecies about the coming judgment of God and the establishment of a messianic kingdom. These prophecies were particularly popular during the Second Temple period, when many Jews were hoping for a Messiah to come and liberate them from Roman rule, cosmology, and astronomy. The Book of Enoch also contains detailed descriptions of the heavens and the heavenly bodies. These descriptions are based on a three-tiered cosmology, with the earth at the bottom, the heavens in the middle, and the abode of God at the top. Enoch as a visionary. Enoch is portrayed in the Book of Enoch as a visionary who is given special insights into the future. He is shown the coming judgment of God, the messianic kingdom, and the secrets of the heavens. The Book of Enoch is a complex and fascinating work that offers a unique perspective on Jewish and Christian thought in the late Second Temple period. It is a work that is still being studied and debated by scholars today.
Morbid Facts, Part 383. In 2007, Eddie Murphy got Mel B pregnant and refused to believe it was his child. He later took a blood test which confirmed he was the father, but he still wants nothing to do with his daughter. In total, Murphy has 10 kids with 5 different women. One of Franz Ferdinand's assassins failed to murder him because he didn't realize there was a 10-second delay on the grenade he threw. He then attempted to take his own life, but the cyanide pill he swallowed was expired and only made him vomit. He then proceeded to jump into a river but failed to drown himself because it was only 4 inches deep. He ended up dying in prison from an illness just 2 years later at the age of 21. In 2020, Russian father Vyacheslav Matrosov forced his best friend to dig his own grave and kill himself after he discovered the man had been sexually abusing his daughter. Vyacheslav was sentenced to 18 months in prison, but was freed after only 6 months due to a massive public outcry for his release.
The choke pear is a metal or wooden device with a screw mechanism. Its design resembles a pear fruit, with 3 to 4 segments that can be expanded when the screw is turned. The device is typically inserted into one of 3 orifices: the mouth, the rectum, or the vagina. When inserted into the mouth, the device would be expanded, causing immense pain and potentially shattering the teeth and dislocating the jaw. When used on the genitals or the behind, the choke pear could cause severe internal injuries and immense suffering, sometimes leading to the death of the victim. This variant was particularly cruel and was used in instances of punishment, witch trials, or to gain information. Doubts have been cast by certain scholars regarding the credibility of historical accounts related to the choke pear, with claims of their implausibility. Rather than being an instrument of torture, some conjecture that it could have been designed for a different function, such as extracting fruit juices.
Breaking news, 10,000 human remains were found on a man's property, and they have just identified the first set of human remains after 30 years. 30 years ago, at the age of 28, Alan Livingston mysteriously vanished. His remains were part of a set of 10,000 remains that were burnt and crushed on the property. In the summer of 1996, following his son's discovery of a skull in the family's backyard, authorities then honed in on Herb Baumeister. Once he was made aware, he fled across the Canadian border and took his own life. Authorities say they were able to identify 1 human bone from Alan Livingston, but they still have over 10,000 remains buried on the property that still need identified. The entire property spans about 18 acres. Authorities said, quote, "We identified a man that was reported missing 30 years ago whose remains were part of 10,000 remains that were burnt and crushed, and we identified that person." Honestly, yeah, there were some high fives, but it very quickly turned to the stark reality: we had another murder victim, and then there were some tears. They went on to say there are more victims who need to be identified, and investigators will continue to need the public's help to do so. According to officials, 4 DNA profiles still have unmatched victims. However, they were able to identify Alan's remains from a family sample that was submitted in late 2022. I'll keep you guys updated. What do you think? Drop in the comments.
Photos before death. Part 1. This may seem like an innocent selfie of a kid with his mom. Unfortunately, that's far from the truth. You see, the two were on board Malaysian Airlines Flight 17. Hours after the photo was uploaded to Facebook, the plane would be shot down above Ukrainian airspace, killing everyone on board. This claustrophobic-inducing photo is of John Edward Jones. In 2009, John was exploring the Nutty Putty cave system when he unfortunately got stuck in an upside-down position. It was pretty much impossible to get him out from that position, so he ended up suffering a very slow death.
Never Tell Me the Odds, Part 35. While filming for Blade Trinity, Jessica Biel was instructed to shoot an arrow directly at the camera that was more than 60 feet away. It was protected by plexiglass except for a tiny 2x2 inch square in front of the lens, which Biel managed to hit with a direct bullseye, thus destroying the $300,000 camera. When Don Carcos fought in World War II, he was hit with shrapnel and blinded in his right eye. While working in a barn 64 years later, a horse headbutted him in the exact same spot. The man was thrown into the wall with force, but his vision was suddenly restored. The shadow of this sign in Devon, England closely resembles a person being hanged. Coincidentally, it's located near a spot called Dead Man's Cross, where criminals were hanged from a gallows in the 13th century. In the year 2000, Kevin Hines jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge due to mental illness and immediately regretted it as he was falling. He broke many bones but miraculously survived because a sea lion was bumping him up from below and keeping his head above the water. Now Kevin is a suicide prevention speaker.
Artemis is a prominent figure in Greek mythology, often depicted as the goddess of the hunt, wilderness, and childbirth. She is the daughter of Zeus, the king of the gods, and Leto, a titaness. Artemis is known for her fierce independence, youthful spirit, and her dedication to the preservation of the natural world. As the goddess of the hunt, Artemis is typically portrayed with a bow and arrows, accompanied by a pack of hunting dogs. She is a skilled archer and is said to roam the forests and mountains, hunting wild animals while protecting the sanctity of the wilderness. This dual role as a huntress and protector of nature highlights her connection to the untamed and wild aspects of the world. Artemis is also associated with childbirth and is often invoked by women during labor. In this aspect, she is seen as a nurturing and protective deity, safeguarding the well-being of mothers and their newborns. Known for her strong sense of chastity and modesty, Artemis is one of the virgin goddesses of Olympus. She is fiercely protective of her independence and has a low tolerance for those who would seek to violate her boundaries. Artemis's character embodies the untamed beauty of nature, the strength of women, and the spirit of the hunt. Her multifaceted role in Greek mythology reflects the complex relationship between humanity and the natural world, and she remains an enduring symbol of both the wild and the nurturing aspects of life.
Showing you all of my Saw props and memorabilia, Part 1. For starters, I have the Trick or Treat Studios Billy the Puppet. He is very large. This is my first edition Saw Rebirth comic, and it also came with some Saw 2 promotional stickers and some temporary tattoos. This is a piece of the bathroom from Saw 7, signed by Costas Mandylor and Shawnee Smith, aka Mark Hoffman and Amanda Young. These were clothing tags used on the set of Saw 6 to store Jigsaw's robes. These are chains from Troy's Trap in Saw 3. This is an evidence marker from Troy's Trap in Saw 3. This is the tank top that Hank the janitor wore during the oxygen crushing trap in Saw 6. These are hand-drawn storyboards from Saw 3. This was rope used during the bedroom trap in Saw 4. This is an evidence bag also used in Saw 4. This is a saw blade signed by Tobin Bell, Jigsaw himself. This is a signed picture of Amanda Young from the Needle Pit scene. I also have the original Saw video games for the Xbox 360, Saw 1 and 2. Stay tuned for Part 2.
The iron bit, also known as a gag, was a cruel instrument of punishment used on enslaved individuals in the southern United States. While it shares some mechanical aspects with the scold's bridle, it had a different historical context and usage. Abolitionist and former slave trader Thomas Brannigan described the iron bit as a device with a flat iron piece inserted into the mouth to keep the tongue down, effectively preventing them from swallowing anything, even their saliva. The mouthpiece included holes to allow minimal passage of saliva, causing it to spill outside the device. This cruel contraption was used to keep enslaved individuals from eating, communicating, or escaping. The iron bit was one of many instruments of torture and control used during the era of slavery, contributing to the physical and psychological suffering experienced by enslaved people. It was also referred to as the mask, bit, or gag.
In the dimly lit woods outside a sleepy town, a spine-chilling legend unfolded, a creature known as the Bunny Man. Whispers of his grotesque presence sent shivers down the spines of locals. The story began with an escaped asylum patient who donned a filthy bunny costume. One moonless night, a group of curious teenagers ventured into the forest, drawn by the eerie tales. A faint rustling of leaves became deafening as they stumbled upon the Bunny Man's lair, a decaying shack adorned with severed rabbit heads. Terrified, they tried to escape, but a monstrous figure in a tattered bunny suit blocked their path. His maniacal laughter filled the air as he brandished a bloodied cleaver. Panic consumed the group as they scattered, but one by one, they fell victim to the deranged Bunny Man. The sole survivor, haunted by the memories of those chilling encounters, warned the town of the Bunny Man's relentless reign of terror. To this day, the ominous legend keeps the forest shrouded in darkness, a place where the Bunny Man's malevolent laughter still echoes.
This is a way, if you want your opponent to fail, you can make them fail. Check this out. The flow state. That's when people play the best, and that's when people stay on their game. The moment you take somebody out of their flow state, they won't play the same. There's this famous tennis player. I forgot his name. But anyways, he was doing so well the first half of the game until his opponent went up to him and said, "How do you do it?"
Oh shit.
That's all he had to say.
Bro starts overthinking. How do I do it?
In the interview, when they asked him like, why did you lose the game? Because he ended up losing and he ended up failing and started playing like a different player. And he asked him like, what made you fail? He said, because I started to question, how do I do it?
That's damn.
Because he started
I'm pulling that next on the next game.
He started to think like, oh, am I stepping right now? Or am I using my hand right now?
Every
Like,
minor
how does
detail.
my fingers like fit on the thing? It's critiqued. It doesn't go from natural talent. It doesn't go from spirit.
Yeah.
And then he failed.
That's smart still.
If you're in competition and you want the competition to lose, all you have to do is ask them that question.
Morbid Facts, Part 362. South Korean actor Jo Son is known for playing random tasks in the first Austin Powers movie. But in 2008, he was sentenced to 7 years in prison for torturing and essaying a female victim on Christmas Day. 3 years later, 27 years were added onto his sentence after he murdered his cellmate. In 2019, Florida man Grant Amato murdered his mother, father, and brother and tried to stage it as a murder-suicide committed by his brother. But police didn't buy his story when they found out his parents were threatening to kick him out of their house over his severe porn addiction. He had stolen over $200,000 from them and spent it all on a cam model from Bulgaria. In 1916, a Tennessee circus elephant named Mary murdered her handler by crushing his head on his second day of the job. The circus owner then decided to publicly execute the 6,000-pound elephant by hanging her from a crane. After she was killed in front of a crowd of 2,500 men, women, and children, an autopsy revealed that she had a severely infected tooth that was likely the cause of her murderous rage.
A lot of people have been sending me DMs, screenshots, tagging me in stories of, yo, did Drake diss you guys? Did Drake diss you guys? There's some coincidences where it does sound like he could be talking about us, but we'll never know for sure. First song, 8 a.m. in Charlotte. Young boys take some of that money and set it aside. Not having enough money to pay your taxes is a federal crime. You and are obsessed with me and it's not on no hetero vibe. That's pretty much saying like, you guys talk about me all the time. Handle beef so quiet, you think I'ma let it slide. Next thing you know, we tiptoeing past enemy lines. Diss me so long ago, we making your memories fly.
We dissed him hella time ago.
Conspiracy theories floating around like the Kennedy guy. I'll probably hold a grudge against you guys till I'm 75.
That's hard.
So if Drake did really not like the theories we did say about him, this kind of would be his reaction to it. And then on top of that, he drops a caption on his story. On his story on his Instagram post. Thank God for this life and not having to come to rush conclusions on Best Buy podcast mics.
That's so crazy. No, that's fucked.
That's our whole show, fam. That's our whole show.
setup got cooked.
Hey there, TikTok fam. You won't believe what I just stumbled upon. Let's talk aliens. You know those UFO sightings that have been happening for decades? What if I told you it's all real? There are whispers about secret government dealings with extraterrestrials. Some believe they walk among us, disguised as humans. I'm talking about celebrities, politicians, even your neighbor next door. They might not be who you think they are. Technology, science, culture, it's all been influenced by them. Now, whether you're a believer or a skeptic, one thing's for sure, the truth is out there. What do you think, TikTok? Are we alone in the universe? Or is there more to the story than meets the eye? The truth is out there, my friends. Stay woke and keep your eyes on the skies. Share this video if you're ready to uncover the alien secrets. Drop your theories and opinions in the comments, and don't forget to like and follow for more mind-bending content. See you on the next episode with more fascinating content.
Goblins are mythical creatures often depicted as mischievous, small, and grotesque beings in folklore and literature. Their origins can be traced across various cultures, with each society imbuing goblins with unique characteristics and roles. In European folklore, goblins are typically portrayed as supernatural creatures that inhabit dark and remote places. They are known for their capricious behavior, sometimes playing pranks on humans or causing minor disturbances. While they are not necessarily evil, they are often seen as disruptive and tricky. Goblins have been integrated into numerous myths and stories. In some tales, they are guardians of hidden treasures or secret places. They also appear in cautionary tales, told to children to encourage good behavior and obedience. The portrayal of goblins has evolved over time, from malevolent beings to more nuanced and varied depictions. They've found their way into literature, from Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night's Dream to J.R.R. Tolkien's The Hobbit and beyond. In modern fantasy literature and pop culture, goblins continue to be featured as distinct and colorful characters with their own personalities and stories. Overall, the legend of goblins highlights humanity's fascination with the mysterious, the supernatural, and the whimsical aspects of the world. They serve as a reminder that even in the realms of fantasy, there are intricate layers of symbolism, cultural interpretation, and storytelling.
The head of the CIA was on Epstein's calendar. Epstein was involved with the CIA a little bit here and there. We don't know how much, for at least we don't know how much.
Why would somebody like CIA director be on Epstein's calendar? Well, CIA director is a political position. The CIA works for one person in the U.S. government, and do you know who that is?
Jeffrey Epstein. It's all right, you set me up, man. Who is it?
The President of the United States. The CIA answers to the President of the United States. So maybe that needs to be reformed a little bit. We actually need our intelligence agencies to be much more transparent and much more open with the American people. And I think that if they were, everybody would, quite frankly, be really proud of what these people were accomplishing.
You ever heard of the catacombs in France?
I don't think so.
So in France, right, during some sickness, all the graveyards were like filled up. So they decided to put the bodies. No, they didn't burn them. They put the bodies underground. Like there's like miles of tunnels underneath Paris and underneath France of like dead bodies.
Still?
Yeah, still. You can go and visit there. But there's places that section off. There's like a lot of that go through there. People think it's haunted. They say like some people get lost in there because like whatever's in there is like making them go in circles. Some people found like footage, like a VHS tape or like a camera. So they picked up the camera and they seen like it was a guy that got lost down there. He's like trying to find his way out and he's like getting scared. And then he just suddenly just like drops the camera and then he just walks off. And then you see something walk behind him. They never found it again.
You can go there by yourself?
Yeah, you can go there. Dolo, it's like an attraction.
Why would you want to go down there?